Hey y'all, welcome back. It is an absolutely beautiful day out here today. Reminds you of spring, even though it's still winter. Today feels like one of those just perfect spring days. I mean, it couldn't get no better than it is right now. So I think I'm gonna take advantage of that weather, and because tomorrow I need to go do some actual work away from the farm. And I think today I'm going to take advantage of this beautiful weather and do my best. I don't know how far I'm going to get, but I'm going to do my best to actually get something accomplished on this barn down here today. I'm going to give y'all a quick update on what all I already have done, show you all the lumber spread out here that we sawed down at Rocky Ridge Heritage Hogs down at their place. And then I'm going to get to work. I'm going to try to explain to you my plan for this back wall right here. I don't even know if it's going to work myself, but I have a plan in my head, so we'll talk about that here in a minute. But at the moment, I've currently got the back wall ready for siding to go up. The front wall is ready for siding to go up. All I got to do now is frame out something back here for the back wall. Had I known what I know now, and had I thought about it, when they built this barn, I would have told them to set me 2 posts going up to the rafter, and that totally could have happened. I just simply didn't think about that at all, which is no problem. I can still set 2 posts. However, if they'd have done it, they'd have been sitting on some nice concrete pillars. I'm just going to dig a hole and put the posts in the ground. That wall is not going to be holding any weight at all from the building. It's just basically there to support the wall. However, the weight of all the wood that's going to be on the wall is going to be a substantial amount of weight on those posts. So I've got to make sure everything's supported right and all, but like I said, we'll talk about that in a minute. Before I even get started showing you the lumber right here, I sawed this on my mill yesterday. I've got I think about 19 or 20 2x6s there that I sawed on my mill, on my band mill, and these are all for the same thing you see right here, except they'll be on the back wall. Now, what we saw down at Rocky Ridge is all these beautiful, beautiful siding boards. I mean, just look at that. I'm gonna tell you right now, this may sound pathetic, but I've never sawn a board that straight on my mill, and I don't know why, but these things are they're beautiful. But this is poplar. We went with poplar. The whole side, every bit of the siding is going to be poplar. So we've got some 10-inch boards there. These are 12 foot long. These will be for the walls on the sides. This is just a pack of extra lumber that come out of it. This actually won't be used for nothing on the barn except maybe some trim work. Here's a bunch of the battens. Then here we have another pack of 12 foot lumber, both of those. And then we get into the 16 foot stuff, which we used right here. And I'm gonna need almost 16 foot to reach from the ground up to the top there. So all of this is 16 foot, and just look at those beautiful circle marks. Those circle marks give it character that you just don't get from a band mill. I mean, just look at that. That is beautiful. I'm pretty sure that Saturday, when we went down there, we sawed more lumber that day than I've probably sawed on my mill the entire time I've owned it. Which is crazy to think, but it's true. Because I know how much lumber I've sawn, and I've never, ever sawn this much lumber with that mill altogether, the whole time I've owned it. You know, it's amazing though, because the way we've got this figured, except for the packs of lumber that, like I just talked about, that's not going to get used on the barn, except for those, I think I've got 2 packs of those. There's not much lumber here at all that's not going to be used on this barn. We figured in a few extra boards just for mistakes and stuff like that. But majority of this lumber is how much it's going to take to cover this barn, and that's just mind-blowing because that's a lot of wood laying there. My goodness. It's beautiful though. And having all this laying out here actually gives me more incentive to hurry up and get it done, because as you can tell at the moment, I don't have any room to put anything under here. So, my plan for the back wall, right there is my two 16-foot 6x6s I'm going to be using for post. I'm going to pull me a string from that corner to this corner so I can have everything in a straight line. This is a 30-foot section from this post to that post. So we're going to have two posts in between. They'll be about 10 foot apart. Like I said, we're going to bury those in the ground. I think I can sink my auger as deep as possible, and I'll be just right. And then I'm going to pull a string from up there at the top corner over to that top corner, and I'm going to cut these posts off. So they're not going to go plumb up to that rafter. And there's a reason for that, because I actually need 20-foot post to put enough in the ground to support it to go all the way up to that. So what I'm going to do is frame me out. I'm going to build me like a beam to go right across from this post to this post. Now I have thought on this, and it's going to sit on top of the post that I'm fixing to put in, and then from that across there up, I'll just frame that out and attach it to the rafter and all of that stuff. But anyways, I have no idea how far I'm going to get on this today. I would love to say that the back wall, by the time I'm done, will be ready to put siding on. However, I really don't know.
Are you going to put your post in today?
I'm going to attempt it.
When are you going to start putting siding on it?
After this back wall's built. I'm going to get this built first.
And that wood right there is the back wall wood, right?
Yeah, the long wood.
Yeah. And then that right there, all that is for the sides.
A lot of wood, ain't it?
A lot more wood for the sides than it is for the back.
I know. I need this string pulled just absolutely tight, and that right there is going to represent my straight line. This will pretty much represent the wall, and that, when I put the post in, will allow me to have all of this perfectly in line with each other. At least that's the plan. 10 foot is there. All right, that post, the outside of the post should sit perfectly against that string if I do this right. I'm gonna pull 10 foot off of this post. There we go. So there's where my two posts will go. Then once I get them in here, like, this is going to be the most challenging part of the whole thing, I think, is getting those posts flush with these two posts so that the wall doesn't have any of this in it. And I'll tell you something that would have made this a lot easier. I don't know if y'all can see it from where I got you sitting, but if the rafter or the truss, whatever you want to call it, was sitting flush with the outside of the post, that would have made all of this a lot simpler to attach a wall to the outside of this. However, it's not. They got it directly in the center of the post, which is fine. Honestly, it's probably better that way. I'm thinking out loud. How many of y'all are like me? You know, lots of people doing something like this would probably draw it out on paper, figure everything up, know exactly how many of this they're going to have and how many of that, know exactly where everything's going to go before they ever just went to work on it. Most people would do that. Probably most sane people would do that. I, on the other hand, just tear into it and start doing something. I kind of picture it in my head, and that's about it. I have a plan in my head, and that's what I go with. I'm not one of these people that can write stuff down and go with that, because it just never has worked for me. I can picture what this is going to look like without seeing it on a piece of paper. If I put it on a piece of paper, it just messes me all up. I can't do that. So any of y'all like that? I don't know why. Maybe I've got something wrong up in my head, and it just can't function like most people would. But anyways, let's dig these holes. Oh man, kind of thought this hole right here was a little bit off. I've got it towards the inside of the barn too far. Now this one looks about right. That's okay though, because I'll take my handheld ones and shave off the wall of this hole. Should be able to get everything right. I had that one angled back that way too far. I tell you, it's tough when you're sitting on a tractor looking at an auger to see whether you've got it straight or not. But I think that'll work. That gives me a start, and I can fix those holes right with my handheld ones. I need to run up to the house and get those. All right, I think I got my holes cleaned out and shaved back enough. You can see I had to shave off of the wall of that so everything lines up perfect with that string. And this one was the worst. I had to shave quite a bit off the back side of that hole to get it out. But I'm thinking, I feel like I hit a little bit of rock down in the bottom of that hole. And that's definitely a good thing, so these post will have something firm to sit on. Believe it or not, I've actually seen buildings built on posts in a hole in the ground and they sink. And so, even though I know these walls ain't gonna be holding up like a ton of weight from the building itself, they are gonna have weight on them from the wall. So I'm thinking I may go get me a handful of rock and just put in the bottom of that hole to try to help that from sinking. And then we'll fill back, we'll see if we can't put the post in there. I'm curious to if I can get them 16-foot long posts in this hole without it hitting something up there, without me having to trim it off, I guess I would say. So I don't know, we'll see if they do that or not. So I actually found a couple pieces of busted concrete, put them down in the bottom of that hole, like arranged them in a circle, and then beat them down in there to sort of pack it tight. So I hope that makes a good base for that post to sit on. Ideally, I would have probably dug it out a little deeper and poured me some concrete for it to sit on, but I really think that's going to work just fine. But now it's time to see just how much of a man I am. Yeah, that don't even reach the top, so definitely I would have needed longer than a 16-foot one. I need to find me a level. Why didn't you already have that over here, Andy? Well, there you are. Why don't you bring me that level? I didn't know you was back. So not only will this string help me keep it flush, it also lets me have the post twisted the right way.
Is it tall enough?
No, this right here is going to get cut off and I'm going to build a beam from one post to the other. So we're level right there. Right there. Man, it's going to be tough. I don't think I got enough dirt there to hold this post up freestanding. Would you come hold it for a minute? I might have to go get my tamping rod. I ain't got that either. I'm prepared.
You know you plant a post today?
Apparently not. Now, I need you to look down there at that string. See how it's
supposed to be touching the string?
It's touching, just touching though. I don't want it pushing on it, I just want it touching. Now let me check my levelness again. Watch your hand. We're perfect. Okay, can you hold it right there?
I'll try.
Level ain't the most ideal thing to tamp with, but it does work. Now will it stand? Look at there, all by itself.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Don't knock it.
All right, hopefully it'll hold itself long enough for me to go get my rod. Put the tamping queen to work. She, believe it or not, is much better at tamping than I am.
It just takes patience.
That's something you got that I don't have. All right, well, I'm gonna set this other post while you do that one.
All right.
Both of the posts are in and tamped. I'm sure I didn't tamp that post quite as good as Megan tamped this post, but I think it'll work. But I'm gonna tell you, there's a reason I don't make plans, and I'm fixing to show you. I discovered something that I think is gonna work out a whole lot better since I actually put these posts in and I visualized it and I see something here. I'm gonna come from that post to that post with a beam just across the top of them. I'll cut these two off level. They're not far from it now, but I'm gonna cut them off level, and I'll lay me a beam across that, and then I'm gonna tie it into that rafter, and that's all I'll need to do. I'll try to fix it so there's actually a little bit of weight from the rafter on that, but I don't know how I'll do that yet. I gotta do some figuring. But, can you see it? I did mess up. Now, I could have very well not showed y'all this, and as long as I held the camera right, nobody would ever know. But I'm gonna show you anyways. First off, I'll show you something that ain't my fault. Apparently there's some crook in that, a little bit of a crook in that post right there. As you can see, we're lined up perfect with the string there. And this one is perfectly with a string. Neither one of these posts are pushing against the string, they're just sitting right beside it. Look at how that one lines up there. See how the rafter's sitting dead in the center? It's perfect. This post right here is completely level. Perfect. This post right here is completely level and set perfect. However, look up there. It sits to the outside of that rafter. So, it's not that big a deal. I'll have to, when I fix this up here, I'll just have to move the post in, which means the whole post is going to move, but that's kind of what you're dealing with when you're working with 6x6s like this. Sometimes they ain't always straight, and I have had these laying around here for a while, so they've dried out and they had time to maybe buckle or bow just a little bit. But that's not the mistake I'm talking about. That's something, like I said, it's just part of using this type of wood, and I'll just have to work around it and figure out how to fix it. But the other part is on me. Can y'all see this? So I measured, after we tamped them in, I was like, let's measure the distance, make sure I got that right. This one is dead on perfect. I mean, absolutely perfect. 10 foot from that post to the center of that post, which is what I wanted. This one, on the other hand, measures 10 foot from the outside of that post to the outside of this post. So yeah, they're 10 foot center to center, but I wanted it 10 foot from the outside of that post to the center of this post, and it's not. And so, up at the top, off only by like, I think it's 2.5 inches, shows up. As you can see, this post lines up perfect with that brace right there. This post, on the other hand, is just a few inches to the side of that brace. Now, I'm sure if I hadn't said something, nobody would have probably ever noticed it unless you just got one of them eagle eyes. And the main thing is, that right there is going to drive me crazy because I know it's there. However, everything else is perfect about these posts, to the point that I don't want to pull this one out and fix it just over being off 1.5 inches. It's not going to mess up anything physically with this barn. It's more or less going to be an appearance thing. So my only hope is, once I close in this wall, there's probably not going to be a lot of light let in anyways, and so in reality, you'll probably never see it. Especially if we've got hay stacked against this wall, nobody will ever know it. I'm just going to let it slide this time. I'm not going to take the effort to fix it because I don't see that it's worth it. But anyways, I got to do some ciphering. I got to get up there on a ladder. I'm going to have to find me a tall ladder. I don't think I got one tall enough, but I'm going to have to get up on a ladder, do some measuring, mark both of those posts off, level, cut them off. The next little bit's probably going to be kind of time consuming because, like I said, I got to do some figuring and everything else to get what I want to get done. And then I'll bring everybody back in and show you what I figured out. Uh-oh. So the easiest way I figured out to do this, it's definitely not probably not the most accurate way, but I got a string, and I'm gonna put one of these little string levels on it. And I've got it pulling off of the top of that post over there. And in order to get this one the same height as that one on the top, the only way I know to do it is with a string. And when that string shows to be level, like I said, this probably ain't the most accurate way to do it. But with my setup here, this is the only way I know to do it. Okay, so I've transferred me a mark pretty much from the top of that post to this post right here using a string. I know y'all can't see that, but that's one of these little string levels. I'll stick that in my pocket. I'm gonna mark this thing off square. I'm gonna tell y'all what, working up on a ladder like this used to not bother me at all. But it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies now. It looks like I've got about 3 inches to cut off the top of that post. So I had to resituate my ladder and take my chainsaw and top that post off. And then I'm gonna need to measure the distance from that rafter out there to this side over here. And I'm gonna cut me a 4x6 to put across here. And I'll tie that 4x6 into this rafter, and that should stabilize the very top of this wall from moving in and out. Because these posts are so tall, if I just left them sticking up like this, then the top of that wall is going to have some give to it. So if I take and tie the 4x6 to these posts, and then tie the 4x6 to the truss, that should stabilize everything the way what I'm looking for. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that's gonna be a challenge. Getting that 4x6 up here and doing all that, that's not gonna be an easy job. Maybe I'll be better off to not use a 4x6 and use a just a regular 2x6. Maybe that's what I'll do. Cause the 4x6 is gonna be heavy, climbing up this ladder with it and setting it on these posts. All right, you ain't getting it done standing here looking at it, Andy. This is definitely not the ideal situation. However, it worked. Perfect, 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 perfect. So now, somehow or another, I got to figure a distance from where this levels off out to the truss. And same over there, I've got to figure out a span in between those. Once I get something across both posts, I can put a level on it and see just how bad we are or how right we are. So this is what I've come up with. This will sit on the outside of that truss, and then this will be in between trusses, and it'll be laying flat on top of the post. The other end's cut just like this end. And hopefully, like I said, this will be attached to the top of the post, and then this will be attached to the rafter. I mean, that does leave a little bit of a weak point there. But once I've got that done, we'll just kind of test it and see how stout it's going to feel. But I may try to rig up another way of tying it to them rafters as well. But I think this is going to work. Now I just got to figure out how to get it up there. So I thought I was going to try to tote that up the ladder. But it's heavy. That rough cut 2x6 is awful heavy for the way I'm going to have to tote it. Because in order for me to get it on those posts, I'm going to have it on the underside of the ladder. So I got a tractor sitting down here with forks on it. I don't think it'll go that high, but it'll at least get me close. I think I'm going to put that thing on the forks. I'll clamp it down to the forks and try to set it up there like that without tearing up something. I'll tell you what, that's putting a whole lot of faith in that parking brake with that thing sitting there like that. And I don't like how I had to muck up that bank either, but I definitely can't get to it from that side. So now I think the question on my mind and everyone else's is how am I gonna get it from there to there to the top of the post? Because as soon as I undo one of them clamps, or both of them, it's gonna fall. This is exactly why I wish I'd have told them to put up me 2 posts on the end out here. Everything I've done today would have been saved. I wouldn't have had to done it. But hindsight's always 20/20, ain't it? Well, I'm gonna have to study on this for a minute. So turns out I had to pull it back down. Before I even tried to stick it up there, I realized that I did not take into account when I was measuring that those rafters are angled. So down on this bottom corner is the right length, but up here, because of this square, it's not gonna fit. I've got to angle that off the same angle as the rafters up there. So luckily, I was able to find my angle finder, and we're gonna transfer this angle to this and see if I can't get that cut out. It's not gonna be an easy task. I don't have a saw that's gonna work good for that unless I use a chainsaw. I'm not sure exactly what's gonna work best for this. But either way, that notch right there has got to come out of here. Hello. So what I have come up with for holding this thing up here while I move it from the forks to the top of the post is a ratchet strap. We'll let that ratchet strap hold the weight of it, hopefully. When I let this one right here go, it's either going to be a mess or it's going to work. Okay, all right, that's good. At least it didn't fall. Ha! Look at that. Of course I cut it too short, my goodness. So, the challenge has been met. I ended up hitting that post right there a while ago. I mean, it was an accident. When I was putting it up there, I hit it with a loader. So as you can see, it's moved. I've got to get all this situated. But y'all, I am tickled to death that worked. I've left a ratchet strap on it just in case while I'm up there working, I knock it off of the post. I did find out that I cut it just a tad bit too short, and that's okay. I'd rather have it too short and too long. At least it still works. But it's about, I don't know, about a ½ inch too short. That's fine, it's gonna work. So I'm gonna spend the next little bit lining up it perfect with the top of that post and the perfect with the top of that post. And then I'll have to drill a hole through the rafter up there and attach that wooden board to the rafter. And when I do that, everything should pull up perfectly flush with each other. And at that point, I'll be ready to start stripping the boards from side to side. I have worked a little over half the day on just this right here. But I'm getting there. I'm almost done with it. Oh, I dropped a washer. So, how I'm attaching this 2x6 here to the frame of the truss is drilling a hole through the truss into the 2x6, and I'm gonna take a bolt and it'll pull all that up tight. Then I come in the same way, come through the truss on the bottom side and pull it up tight that way. And I believe that's gonna give me a really good stout connection with this truss to the wall. Kind of hard on this ladder. I can't put a whole lot of pressure on that. All right, I've got my holes through the truss drilled. Let's pull this up tight, best I can. I'm using 5/16 carriage bolts. Yep, and there just went the nut. Now, let's see if I can do this one without dropping it. I believe we're gonna have to do it without the washer. There just went my ratchet. All right, climb down and get my stuff that I've dropped. So I have to pull this one in first before I drill through here so the holes line up. All right, got that good and snug. Now we can drill down through this hole. Maybe. think this bolt right here is probably gonna be the one that's got the majority of the pressure on it. When I get down from up here, I'll wiggle everything real good and just make sure it's all gonna look nice and sturdy. But I believe I've about got this whooped. All right. Let's get down and check it out. Feels sturdy from up here. That don't look too bad. I mean, that ain't going nowhere. So, I think this is about as far as I'm gonna get today. I'm gonna back up here though and give y'all a real good look at it. I ended up having to put about an inch spacer under this post over here to get that cross member level, and that's okay. I knew the string method wasn't perfect, but that works. That works just fine. So this is definitely not as far as I wanted to get today, but it's not what you call late in the evening yet, but it's getting there. We've got somewhere we got to go later on this evening. I need to go on up to the house and start getting all the animals fed and all that good stuff. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I got to put a bale of hay in, so I guess I'm done down here. But that turned out right nice. Had I had just a little bit longer post, I could have put the post plumb up to the rafters there, but that's what I had. To get anything longer than 16 foot, you have to custom order it, and well, I already had those. I believe that's going to work just fine. That actually turns out to be quite a bit sturdier than I was expecting. So I am 100% pleased with the way that turned out. So now what I lack is putting the side pieces on across here for me to nail the siding to. I will have to figure out a little bit of something up there to do the siding so that it works out on that eave, but I'm not even gonna worry about that right now. I've got the hard part done. And the way I measured everything, you can see where it's right there where it overlaps the rafter. That is the same thickness is right there. So as long as I've done everything right, when I put a board from this post to that post, they'll be right. Everything will be flush. Of course, there's going to be a gap up there on that rafter, but there's nothing I can do about that with the way the rafter's put on the post. So there it is. Not exactly what I wanted to get done today. However, that is a huge undertaking that's done. Well, I definitely needed to put some hay in. They were completely out. I guess they cleaned up what little bit they had left. Cleaned it up today. I don't imagine you see anything happening yet, do you?
No.
No, still too soon. I covered them this morning good.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Hot as it's been today, though. It'll dry that soil out in a hurry, won't it?
It will.
But anyways, y'all, it's time to make our weekly tractor supply run. So we're going to tractor supply tonight. Got to get some feed. We got to get stuff to make cow feed with.
Yep.
We've got a whole list of things we got to get tonight. And so I got to get on with feeding the rest of the animals. I'm sure you got something else you got to go finish up before we go. So anyways.
Yep. Hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Hope you might have learned a little something. We appreciate you watching, and till we see you on the next one.
Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one.